Hi everyone, I'm super excited to host Patrick Murphy, co-founder and CEO of Maket. I've been following your journey for a while and it's so inspiring for the progress you have made. So congratulations on everything.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Patrick, take us back to the early days. What inspired you to solve this problem?
Yeah, great question. So the early dusty days before generative AI, and you were an early pioneer within the space. So you've also been tracking our journey for quite a bit. So it was pre ChatGPT, pre sort of generative AI wave. Not a lot of people were working within Gen AI as a whole, especially not within the architectural design space. So really what inspired us is just like the simple thesis of how do we make architecture more accessible to more people. So I founded the company with my co-founder and COO of the business, Stefan, who's an architectural technologist by trade. He saw a lot of inefficiencies in the market, right? It's like CAD, Revit, Rhino, those types of tooling, hard to use, legacy systems, hard for his customers to be able to interact with them as well on the architectural design side. Um, and my background is in design, graphic design, then made my way towards tech. So I saw all of the transformation of, say, Canva and how what they brought in that transformation in the market. So we're really inspired to just apply as architectural design at scale, right? But that was before Gen AI and before sort of the the era that we're living in right now. So we're very convictional around that point. But how we're going to get there was another question. But we've done a lot of research and a lot of progress since we started the company around Gen AI and architecture. So that was really the genesis of how do we take basically what Canva did for graphic design and apply the same thing to architecture now in 2025. So we're still at it. We're happy.
Yeah. What was one thing you overestimated and underestimated when you started the company?
Yeah. So one of the major challenges working in Gen AI that early is that we were, pre-ChatGPT days, or maybe mid-journey V2, V3, GPT-3, taking you back a little bit, a few years. We wanted to really fix a pretty, not niche problem, but a pretty point solution around plan generation, right? So how do we generate floor plans in a quicker fashion? And it seems like a pretty easy problem to fix when you look at it at face value. We were like, oh, maybe diffusion-based model can work. Maybe some other types of models that we can test could work within plan generation, only to find out really quickly that like plan generation and plan optimization in the architectural design space is very, very complicated when it comes to generative models. So a big challenge that we had was getting to a point where research that we were doing actually could be translated into a product, and then we were able to hit user volume and scale, etc. So when we started the company in 2020, then down the path of generative AI in 2021, and applied research that we did in 2022 around plan generation, we put that into the first version of the product in 2023. And what we saw, we wanted to be sort of by architects for architects, and what we saw is quite the opposite, right? The market was saying, listen, a solution is needed a little bit more bottoms up in terms of how do I come up with plans that are generated in a quicker fashion? How do I optimize my plan, recognize plans? It was real estate developers, home builders, homeowners that were coming to us who wanted to have better discussions with our architects. So that was one of the major points that we found surprising was just who the market was going to be, and then also the research complexity of what we've built. And it's fun to see the maturation of the technology to get to a place now where we're really able to hit on a lot of these points and provide a lot of value within the product. So we were very early into our market, but it paid a lot of dividends in terms of the user growth that we've had. Now we're over 1 million users on the platform, and the sort of the application. Thank you. And the application of we're able to do it within the market, but there's still a lot of challenges, right? When you're thinking about Gen AI within the architectural design space.
Yeah. I would like to pick your brain on business model in design
Yeah.
because like from 3D Guru, my personal
Yeah.
journey, we had to A/B test so much. Okay, if you're selling to
Yeah.
architects, their
Yep.
appetite to pay is
Yeah.
different. Then consumer has a different
Definitely.
expectation, and enterprise is
Definitely.
a different game. So yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. And that's why we really, it was one of the reasons that we didn't go directly towards architects and architectural firms. A little bit like Canva, I think, is a good parallel, and I'll keep on making the comparison. Techs have sort of used their same tooling since they started, right? It's like it's the legacy tools, or it's the SaaS platforms where they can do some of this as well. But ultimately, the wallet share is not huge, right? Because they're thinking about sort of their client base, or they get paid on a per project basis. And there's not the volume, I think, that you see in terms of business model, in terms of total addressable market when it comes to real estate developers, home builders, and consumers at scale that need a solution. So that's why we shifted the attention. Now, you see the advent of companies like Lovable, Cursor, Bolt that are really like easy entry point. That's really what we want it to be, right? It's going
Mhm.
the V2 is going to be $20 per month US, and then a plan in the hundreds that's more for unlimited usage. So very simple business model to be able to use it within like a credit-based system, like a lot of generative companies. But ultimately, hopefully, we'll be able to get to a point where we have sort of on a per output basis, right? I think that some of the best business models are going to be going on a per output basis if these agents really are able to deliver on the value that they have. So I think that architects and architectural firms will probably be adopting these systems eventually and then be charged on a per output basis, right? So I think that we're already seeing some of that within like Intercom with their ticketing system. They have on I think it's $1 per resolved conversation and a few other ones. So I think that business models are going to evolve pretty significantly when it comes to SaaS. But it's an iterative process, right? You're always A/B testing and what that looks like, and how do you then think about enterprise and upstream, right? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And I also must comment that I've seen ads of Maket on Instagram on my feed,
Yeah.
and the ad quality was great. And
Yeah.
I haven't seen many design tech
Yep.
startups doing that approach. So
Yeah.
curious to know what were the different GTM strategies you
Yep.
tried, what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that we sort of caught lightning in a bottle when it comes to the organic traction that we had. We pretty quickly went from launch to then getting 10, 15, 20, 30,000 people signing up on a monthly basis. What I think happened is that from an organic standpoint, we got reference in a few market maps, listicles, etc. That really worked from a good SEO perspective, and then we kept on getting backlinks. So a lot of people would find us organically, and now it's paying dividends even when it comes to LLM systems, right? Where people search for AI architect, AI floor plan, etc., and we come up within those results because we were so early in the market in talking about AI and architecture back in 2020, 2021, 2022, before Gen AI sort of really took off. So that's been the primary GTM. But obviously with this V2 of the platform, we want to keep on investing pretty heavily in organic content, making the product really, really good, and then word of mouth, right? Like one of the things that I've looked a lot in terms of inspiration is how Gamma has gone through their
Yeah.
GTM motion, where you're thinking about influencers, micro influencers, them using the product, understanding the product, being able to deliver value to their audience. And to your point, AEC companies often will think, well, let's go directly to the buyer, right? Let's do a really heavy B2B motion. That can work within enterprise, but we're inherently in a visual field, right? It should be interesting. It should be sort of content driven. It should be, UGC driven. So I think the short form content, influencer marketing, and things that have worked well on the consumer side should be applied within the space, right? Because it's a pretty wide open field when it comes to GTM strategy. So we'll see how that goes. I was surprised. I mean, my background comes from paid marketing, right? So it's a paid advertising. I was like, oh, we're just going to do a bunch of Facebook ads and Google ads. And lo and behold, it was actually a bunch of organic things that actually worked. So our strategy is going to continue to could be like that, very product driven, word of mouth share. That's what we really want to be focusing on in terms of GTM tactics going into next year.
God, I've heard like sometimes Reddit could also do wonders in terms
Yeah.
of organic
Yep.
traffic.
Absolutely. So one of the things that's interesting about AEO, GEO, however you want to call it, I was listening to a podcast recently with an expert in AEO, and he was saying that Reddit works quite well if it's used properly, right? So the way that you don't want to use it is come in and just like spam it with a bunch of self promotion. If you're there to provide value and say, hey, like I'm from this company, this is what I'm doing, let's have a conversation about I think that can be super valuable. And then those get picked up in terms of queries and LLM systems, right? So it's, what's the best floor plan generator for kitchen renovations? And then it's going to come up in those results. So Reddit's a tough one to crack, but it's definitely a channel that makes a lot of sense if it's used properly. But yeah, it ranks very, very, very high when it comes to LLM strategies, and I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I feel you can write a playbook on how to get customers using organic traffic for design tech
Yeah.
startup.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a lot of experimentation to see what works. I think it just comes down to like does the product provide amazing value, right? And that's one of the things that we've been really working hard on with this V2 platform that's coming out in Q1 of next year is really making the experience softer, smoother, better for it just to work, right? The V1 of the platform was a lot around, yes, plan generation, plan editing, some visualization as well, but it was quite siloed within the user interface, within the flow. We relied on the users a lot to understand things, right? And now with this V2, it's just people will just understand how to use it because it's like ChatGPT, but for architecture, right? So I think if the product does a good job, that can then create viral motion, and that really helps within organic, right? And I think it comes down to like GTM. Actually, we need a lot better product designers when it comes to AEC startups and AEC tech. Good product designers with good taste. If they're within the industry, it's gonna take off. It really is, and there's just not enough good product designers that are working within the prop tech space.
So how do you find those people?
Yeah.
Like, what is the hiring secret?
There's a lot of when you're looking at product designers, I think a lot of it taste is at a premium, right? You look at V0, Lovable, Gamma, some of those companies that have really taken off within the Gen AI space. A lot of the things that their founders have drawn back to is somebody with good taste. If somebody has good taste when it comes to product design, it's really going to come through and through. I think that within the Gen AI world, where it's like it's been so commoditized, where we can create software in a quick fashion and other elements in a quick fashion, taste is really at a premium. And that's why, like within the interview process, we like to for sure talk about product design and what that looks like. We like to have individuals that are self-complex. So it's what does your product taste look like? What do you feel about architecture? What type of music are you listening to? What type of fashion are you into? Like those are some key indicators in terms of taste. And I think obviously taste can be cultured and grown. So we do a lot of that. And then a lot of it in terms of hiring, we just make sure that we have a good network that we can go through and do a lot of recruiting ourselves. Mm.
You have been in this game for many years. Looking back, what were the toughest moments? What was your mind space and how did you navigate those?
Yeah, a good question. We have a really big goal, right? We we see, Canva, Gamma, those types of companies as our inspiration. So for us to be able to get to the point where, we're delivering consistent value to our users and people are using it within their daily workflows, and it becomes sort of the system of record when it comes to everything around architecture, it becomes your AI architect. There's a lot of technical challenge to get to that place when it comes to the AI model, plan generation, recognition, optimization, talking about everything around like electrical, in fact, like all these elements that need to work well together. Generative systems, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that side. So that's on the product side, making sure that technology just works together. That's definitely a complicated thing. And I can speak a little bit more to a third co-founder that we added to the business that obviously has a lot of experience within that space. And then on the business side, I think it's just obviously fundraising, that's not an easy thing. And it's taken some time for our market to mature and for people to make the associations of like, okay, like, this is happening within different industries. It's going to happen in architecture and design as well. So we're a little bit early within the market. So there's some challenges that we've had definitely over the last few years.
For design tech founder listening who wants to fundraise, what
Yeah.
would be like two, three tips, like
Yeah.
non-negotiable? Like if you're fundraising, do
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a few different tips depending on where you're at within your journey. I think one of the things that we did really get right from the start is we got distribution. And we really realized that like, okay, there is a big problem here that needs to be fixed. And people will pay money for this. And there's a lot of these people out there. So proving out the distribution model. There's a few different ways that you can do that. Obviously, I think we got quite lucky when it comes to distribution in terms of SEO and whatnot. But I think that building a good personal brand and then also a good company brand as well, and for it to really look like an amazing, product and design experience from the website to then the product is a great way to go. So hiring a really good product designer early, I think is a non-negotiable. And then being able to use, I think, technology where you can, vibe code a prototype or something like that with that good product design knowledge, and then being able to get some early revenues, some early traction. I think some of the goalposts have changed when it comes to early traction, early rev because of the scale that some of these companies are hitting so quickly. So those are, some tips of advice that I would have is good product designer. You make a good product. It's a little bit like a vibe coded product at the start, and then you get distribution right, and you really make the brand look actually a little bit bigger than it is, right? I think all of those things really are key elements. Maybe another element that I would add from a fundraising perspective is it sounds cliche, but like team really is a thing when it comes to fundraising. Like your strength of your team, if you have a multiple exited founder in the founding team, or talent that's really present within that team, it's really going to help within fundraising. I know that it helped us. So those things definitely help when it comes to fundraising for early stage.
So if I were to think about pre-seed, seed, like in pre-seed stage, get a good product designer, make it
Yeah,
elegant, get
yeah,
some distribution, and
yeah,
that numbers adds. So in fundraising, like the step one is getting foot into the doors to talk to VCs, be it like
yeah,
from domain, non-domain. And
yeah,
second is closing. So I guess the
yeah.
team and everything helps in closing, but sometimes you end up in a situation where you are not able to get in to a lot of doors. So any tips on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lot around networks, right? And understanding I think networks affect locally and then how they play into other networks. When we were doing the fundraise for this round, there was a local sort of like AI pioneer here that was able to
Yeah.
introduce us to a fund in San Francisco, and we didn't have a network in San Francisco. So being able to open up that network that then opens up bigger networks, I think is important. Unless you're in the valley and you're sort of intrinsically already within those networks, if you've been a partner ACD or Sequoia, then your fundraising journey is going to look probably a lot different, because that network and that trust has been built. So that's one of the things that we worked really hard at locally in Montreal is know the investors, know the investment community, have investors here, but then they also have ties to San Francisco, and then it can open up a little bit bigger network. And that's exactly what we've done. That, and then also being connected with founders that have been venture backed as well. The relationship between a founder and their investors is obviously very, very close, and there's really a lot of trust. That's some of the best introductions that we've gotten is, just getting to know the founders. They're saying, hey, like you should meet, Sam, who's one of my investors, right? And that's a really good way to get introductions versus like, sending out cold LinkedIn messages or emails, etc. Even for us, we get solicited by investors pretty often. And if it comes from one of our investors, I'm going to take it a lot more seriously than a cold outreach on LinkedIn or via email, right? So I think it's cliche, but it's just good old fashioned relationship building networking.
Yeah, I've heard this as a like a advice of make founder friends and that referral.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Q2, like sorry, V2 is coming up in Q1 next year.
Correct.
You made a blog post about some glimpse
Yes.
of it. Could you walk us through
Yes.
like what's coming up?
Super excited. I'm really excited for this V2 of the platform. Relaunch of the website, relaunch the brand. You're getting a little bit of an exclusive sneak peek in terms of some of the things that we're going to be announcing next year. And then relaunch of the products. Obviously taking heavy inspiration from V0, Lovable, Bolt, those types of companies. It's going to be a fully agentic version of the platform with some contextual UI elements. So you'll be able, using a text box, to generate floor plans, recognize floor plans, optimize those floor plans, be able to make modifications that you want to within a 2D environment. So we're really working on like a very robust floor plan editor to make sure that you have all the edits that you request, either via just simple editing or via text-based editing as well. So it's, make the room bigger, make it smaller, etc. That's going to be fully agentic, and then translating that into visual assets, right? So it's being able to see what that space is actually going to look like, how it looks and feel, different materials and furniture assets that are added to it, linking really some of the advancements that we've seen on the visual side with the planning aspect as well. Then obviously we're going towards developing more agents that are going to be able to be more orchestrated within the platform. But this first launch of the V2 is definitely around plan generation, plan optimization, the visual aspect of it, which is, what we hear time and time again on our discovery calls from builders, real estate developers, and anybody who's not the architect is like, we want to be able to see what the space will look like, both on the planning side, then also on the visual side. So we're really, really excited about that. And it's gonna be a nice product to use. It's gonna feel good. And I can give you maybe some background as well. In April of this year, brought on a third late stage co-founder in the business, as chief product officer, Simon Vallée, I guess you'd say in English. 3 times exited founder. He sold some companies, one to Groupon, another one to Slack. He was employee, I think, number 41, 42 at Slack, and left when there were 1,000 employees, entrepreneur in residence and foundation capital, and then also scaled and sold another business to Figma. So very, very experienced when it comes to product design. And it's a little bit his brainchild that he's been working on since April of this year. So we're really excited for his V2. The platform is just going to feel really good to use.
God. And what's your take on when the world will see like full AI architect?
That's a good question. I think that when you go down within the workflow, and you're really doing sort of micro optimizations around construction documents, elevations, that's where generative systems, there's still some work to be done, in orchestrating AI agents as well together, right? So handing off of information past the planning stage all the way into the execution stage, I don't think that we're far away when it comes to timeline. Excuse me, I definitely think that we're not I don't think that we're 10 years away. I also don't think that we're a month or two away either. I think that we need to learn from these agents. We need to understand sort of how they play into each other, and then obviously being able to see advancements of some of these big AI labs and the models that they're coming out with and how those play into some of the work that we're doing. But I'd say that, I'd have to put a stake in the ground. I'd say that probably within the next 24 months will be the place where it's able to do a lot of the planning work. That's with the caveat that's in residential, right? When you're going into commercial, institutional projects, much more complicated, more constraints, more regulations, etc. And this is all with the caveat, obviously, that if you're working within text, video, or image space, you can get things 99% right and it still works and you can just make the edits. You can't do that within construction and architecture, right? So architects still will need to sign off on the plans and say they make sense, right? So I really think that advancements, that's what the timeline looks like. But we're seeing a really rapid acceleration when it comes to these AI models and what they're able to do, which you've obviously seen.
Yeah. And like, how do you navigate like the innovation in the space? Like OpenAI with every image
Yeah.
model revision is getting better. And I
Yeah.
feel we see like flow plan generation, but there's so
Yep.
many geography specific nuances that okay, Canada might
Yeah.
design
Yep.
residential different than US.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I think it's the linking of a lot of different models and agents together, right? So it's like you can generate a plan, that's great, but then is that plan compliant? Okay, then it pulls information on compliance, zoning codes, etc. Make sure it's compliant. Then after that, you need to see the visual aspect of it. What's going to look like? Then you can pull on one model or one agent that's more on the box. So for us, we plug and play where it makes sense. Then we also develop our own technology and models and agents where it doesn't necessarily make sense. There's those gaps in the technology. But I get super excited with the advancements that we have because the more that these models understand and the better that they get, the better the product experience can be and the more value can deliver towards people. So you've seen these companies like V0, Bolt and Lovable have just a really simple interface. I don't think that they're using super complicated system prompts and those are around code generation. And you've seen these companies scale really, really quickly from, 0 to 200 million in a year. It's because they have nice interface, it's easy to use, and they've built distribution and brand. I think that brand distribution and product design, product taste is going to be a lot of the elements that make successful companies within this AI era. And then making sure that agents just work well together in a seamless way. And we still have some work to do on that side within the architectural design space. But I get excited when I see like everything the models can do. I mean, I'm testing some out right now and it's just, it literally takes the words out of my mouth. It's just so impressive that a few years ago, generative AI wasn't even a thing. And now we're getting to a point where, we're talking about AGI. It's pretty interesting.
What has been your proudest moment?
Yeah, good question. I think there are a bunch of small moments that make us really proud, right? Like I really like one of the things that is, it sounds a little bit cliche, but some of the proudest moments that I do have is customer discovery calls where I get on calls with people and like I take notes within these calls and I can always summarize the notes in the same way, right? Where it's like I need to generate a plan, I need to reorganize a plan, need to optimize it. I need to visually see what it looks like in a quick fashion. Doesn't cost me a ton of money. I think some of a lot of the excitement that I have of building the company is just like people need this, and it's like they're beating down our door to be able to have this. So that's what brings me the most excitement is being able to provide a lot of value. And then I'm even thinking further in terms of how do we combine software and hardware to be able to 3D print houses and get to a point where we're really like providing more affordable housing at scale. But those are some of my proudest moments, obviously, is that it's team building an amazing team, being over 1 million users, super happy about that as well. But yeah, it's just seeing people get value from the product and what we're building. It's really exciting.
That's great. Is there anything you would do differently now if you were to start
Uh,
again?
That's a good question. If I was starting today, I think that we'd have a lot of a leg up in terms of some of the core research that we had to do in the early days that now has been fixed, thankfully, with some of the advancements in the AI models. I think that the major one though would be hiring a good product designer. It's or a team of good product designers. But Gamma, when they started, I think when they were a team of 8, I think you would say that 25% of their team, if I'm not getting mistaken with the statistics, or a good portion of their team was product designers, right? So like I would hire a good product designer out of the gate because the product really is the catalyst of what drives a lot of growth. That's one thing that would do different. That's why I tell companies in the early stage, I'm like, make sure the product looks and feels absolutely amazing. And then you start building some sort of brand and some sort of distribution. And then eventually those are going to collide together and create just an amazing experience, right? So that's one of the things that I would change is get an amazing product designer behind the company at the early days.
Got it. I have a rapid fire. You have less than 10 seconds to answer, and you gotta keep it super
Fantastic.
brief.
That's great. That's great.
Who's your favorite architect?
Oh, good question. Good question. I like Zaya Hadid's things. Like, I really liked it. It's just like crazy design. But it's yeah, those are I like her. I like their stuff.
Favorite restaurant?
Ooh, that's a good question. We have a lot of good restaurants here in Montreal. It's a French word, but it's called Babar in French, and it's like a Lebanese place in the eastern townships here close to the ski mountain, and it's just every single time I eat there, it's like that. It's amazing. Yeah, Babar is definitely my favorite.
A city which is in your travel bucket list.
Oh, good question. I would like to go to generally Italy. So I would like to visit different cities within Italy. I went to Japan twice this year, and that was a big check mark on the bucket list. But Italy is definitely there. And then Copenhagen's another one that is on my list as well, pretty high up. I think that we're gonna make next year. I think we're gonna make it happen.
Nice. Any book which made a big impact in your life?
Ooh, good question. I really like Shoe Dog. Shoe Dog was really good. Understanding sort of the early days of Nike was, yeah, it's like pretty foundational to, I think, any entrepreneur who wants to get within the space. Yeah, I like that. Barbarians at the Gate was also really good. I like that a lot in terms of like private equity and sort of leverage buyout. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, those are 2 books I like a lot.
3 words your co-founder would describe you as.
Okay, it's 2 words, but golden retriever, fast moving, and sometimes impulsive. Those would be the 3 words probably. Yeah.
If you had more time and bandwidth, what is one problem in AEC you would solve?
Yeah, good questions. I whether it's this company or, further down in the career path, I really am interested about combining software and hardware together. So yes, the generative problem. So how do you generate floor plans? How do you get to a place where you do have like an AI architect? But then how do you combine it with robotics, be able to 3D print houses, robotics within construction, renovation, and being able to go further within that process? That's something that's like once the technology and the models have gotten to a place where they work well in robotics and there's having their chat GPT moment, that to me is another area of focus. It's really interesting for me to be sort of full stack within the construction space. That's a itch that I want to scratch in the future for sure.
Nice. What is one course you would like to teach at the university based on all the
Oh,
skills you learn?
oh, that's a good question. I would like to teach public speaking classes. Like I like helping founders within public speaking, within pitching. My dad was a pastor. He taught me a lot that I know about public speaking, about pitching. What's the big idea? What are sort of the key impact messages you want to have? And I like to be able to relay that information. That's one thing that I would love to teach one day is just like, how do you have an impact when it comes to message delivery within public speaking?
Patrick, anything which we didn't cover in this interview and you would like to end on that note?
People should come to Montreal. It's a great city. Great city, great architecture, great food. I root hard for Canadian tech and for Montreal. It's a great place to build a business and to have a family. So yeah, local shout out, I guess.
Amazing. So we have Make It making disruptive tech from Montreal. Awesome.